Jack Calder sat on the edge of his cot, his workshop buzzing faintly in the background. He was a tinkerer by nature, an engineer aboard the massive human colony ship Nova Venture. The ship had been floating through the stars for decades, searching for a new home for humanity. Life was routine, fixing broken machinery, upgrading systems, and occasionally inventing small gadgets to make the colony's life a bit easier, until now. A soft chime echoed through his quarters. Jack frowned and glanced at the screen on his desk. The message was glowing in faint blue letters, written in a language that was alien yet somehow comprehensible. It was from the Zitherans, an alien race known for their unmatched intelligence and mystique. The Zitherans rarely interacted with humans, keeping to themselves in their beautiful, glowing cities on distant planets. Yet here was an invitation. Human Jack Calder, you are chosen. Come to Zyra Prime. You will receive a gift beyond imagination. Your acceptance will change everything. Jack blinked at the message. He wasn't a politician, a scientist of renown, or a soldier. Why him? He stared at the words, debating. Was this a prank? A mistake? But curiosity gnawed at him, and Jack had always been the kind of person who couldn't resist a mystery. After all, what was the harm in seeing what the Zitherans wanted? By the next morning, Jack was aboard a sleek Zitheran transport vessel. Its interior shimmered with iridescent lights, the walls seeming alive, pulsating gently as though the ship were breathing. The Zitheran pilot, a tall, silver-skinned figure, spoke little, but the ride was smooth and eerily silent. Jack's thoughts whirled as they approached Zyra Prime, the Zitheran homeworld. The planet came into view, glowing like a jewel against the black canvas of space. Its surface sparkled with bioluminescent forests and vast cities that floated on shimmering clouds. Jack had seen pictures of Zyra Prime, but none did it justice. The beauty was otherworldly, almost intimidating. He was led to a grand hall upon arrival, its ceiling high and carved with glowing symbols that seemed to tell stories of ancient triumphs. A circle of Zitherans stood in the center, their robes flowing like liquid silver. Jack felt out of place, a man in a well-worn jumpsuit surrounded by elegance and mystery. "Welcome, Jack Calder," one of them said, their voice soft but resonant. "You are here to receive our greatest gift." Jack opened his mouth to ask a question, but before he could, a figure stepped forward from behind the circle. She was unlike any Zitheran he had seen. Her features were delicate, her silver skin glowing faintly, and her luminous eyes held a mixture of curiosity and uncertainty. "This is Alara," the Zitheran continued. "She is your gift." Jack's jaw dropped. His mind scrambled for an explanation. What was going on? The hall fell silent, save for the faint hum of energy that seemed to vibrate in the air. Jack knew one thing. His life had just taken a turn he could never have imagined. Jack Calder stood frozen, his eyes fixed on Alara. She was breathtaking, but it wasn't just her appearance that left him speechless. It was the sheer absurdity of the situation. A gift. What did that even mean? His mind churned with questions, but before he could say anything, one of the Zitherans stepped forward, their silver robes shimmering like liquid moonlight. "Do not be alarmed, Jack Calder," the Zitheran said in their melodic voice. "Alara is not a gift in the way your human traditions might imply. She is a scholar, a guardian of knowledge, and she has chosen to join you." Chosen? Jack finally found his voice. "I didn't ask for this. Why me? I'm just an engineer." The Zitherans exchanged glances, their glowing eyes betraying no emotion. Alara stepped forward, her movements graceful but deliberate, her gaze steady as it met Jack's. "You underestimate yourself," she said, her voice soft yet firm. "The Zitherans have studied your people. They believe your unconventional thinking may hold the key to solving a crisis that threatens us all." Jack blinked, trying to process her words. Crisis? What crisis? The Zitheran leader gestured to a glowing sphere in the center of the room. It projected a three-dimensional image of the galaxy. At first, it seemed peaceful, with stars and planets sparkling like diamonds. But then, a dark, swirling mass began to spread across the map, consuming entire star systems. "This is the eclipsing void," the leader explained. "It is not a natural phenomenon. It is a weapon left behind by an ancient race. If left unchecked, it will devour everything in its path, including your homeworld." Jack stared at the projection, his mouth dry. "And you think I can stop this? I'm not exactly a superhero." "No," Allura said, stepping closer. "But you are a problem solver. Humans have a unique way of approaching challenges. Your creativity, combined with Zitharan knowledge, may give us a chance to counter the void. That is why I am here, to work with you." Jack felt a mix of pride and pressure. He glanced at Allura, who seemed confident but not condescending. She wasn't looking down on him like some superior being. She genuinely believed in this partnership. He sighed, running a hand through his messy brown hair. "All right," he said finally. "I'll help. But I need to know more about this void, and I need tools. Data, equipment, whatever you've got." The Zitharan leader nodded. "Everything you need will be provided. Your journey begins now." Before Jack could ask what they meant, the floor beneath him and Allura shimmered. In the blink of an eye, they were transported to a sleek Zitharan research vessel. Jack stumbled slightly, looking around at the strange futuristic consoles and glowing walls. "Welcome aboard," Allura said with a faint smile. "We have much to do," Jack called her. Jack exhaled and nodded. He had no idea what he was getting into. But one thing was clear. This was going to be the adventure of a lifetime. Jack Calder sat in the control room of the Zitharan research vessel, his fingers nervously tapping the edge of the sleek, glowing console. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Allura stood on the other side of the room, studying a holographic display filled with alien symbols and spinning star maps. Despite her calm demeanor, Jack could sense a subtle tension in the air. "So," Jack began, breaking the silence, "how exactly are we supposed to stop this eclipsing void? Do we just press a big red button somewhere?" Allura turned her luminous eyes toward him, one delicate eyebrow raised. "Human humor, I assume?" she asked, her voice steady, but with a hint of curiosity. "Something like that," Jack replied with a shrug. "But seriously, I need to know what I'm working with. You've got advanced tech, and I'm just a guy with a wrench and a knack for fixing things." Allura stepped closer, her robes flowing gracefully around her. "Do not underestimate yourself," Jack called her. "The Zitharans have analyzed your work. You possess an ability to think beyond logic, to see solutions where others see obstacles. That is why you were chosen." Jack rubbed the back of his neck, feeling both flattered and overwhelmed. "All right, fine. So where do we start?" Allura waved her hand, and the holographic display shifted to show an enormous swirling black mass consuming a cluster of stars. "The eclipsing void is expanding at an accelerating rate," she explained. "It feeds on energy, absorbing entire systems, and leaving nothing behind. We believe it was created as a weapon, but its purpose and creator remain unknown." Jack leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "And you want me to, what? Build something to stop it?" "Yes," Allura said, her voice calm but firm. "We have fragments of ancient technology that may disrupt the void's energy field. Your task is to adapt them into a functioning device. The principles are beyond Zitharan methods, but your creativity might succeed where our precision has failed." Jack let out a low whistle. "No pressure, huh?" Allura tilted her head, her expression softening. "Pressure can lead to brilliance." Jack smirked despite himself. "All right, let's see what we've got." She led him to the ship's laboratory, a space filled with sleek tables, glowing instruments, and shelves of alien components. Jack immediately felt at home, though the equipment was far beyond anything he had ever used. He picked up a strange, cube-shaped device and examined it. "This thing looks like it belongs in a sci-fi movie," he muttered. Alara stepped beside him, her voice suddenly softer. "If you have questions, I will assist you. This is not your burden alone." Jack glanced at her, surprised by the sincerity in her tone. "Thanks," he said. "Guess we're in this together." Alara nodded. Together. As they began working, Jack realized that while their methods were different, there was potential in their partnership. For the first time, he felt a glimmer of hope that they might actually stand a chance against the void. Jack Calder was elbow-deep in wires and alien tech, muttering to himself as he tried to make sense of the strange components in front of him. The Zitharan lab was pristine, its surfaces glowing faintly in soft blues and silvers, but Jack's workspace looked more like a war zone. Wires, tools, and bits of machinery were scattered everywhere. "Do all humans work in chaos, or is this a trait unique to you?" Alara's voice broke the silence. She stood on the other side of the table, her posture elegant, her expression neutral, though her glowing eyes betrayed mild amusement. Jack smirked without looking up. "Hey, chaos is just order waiting to happen. Give me some time, and this mess will make sense. Trust me. I will reserve judgment." Alara replied, but there was a faint hint of humor in her tone. Their task was daunting. Adapt an ancient Zitharan device, found in the ruins of a forgotten world, to counter the eclipsing void. The device had incredible energy channeling potential, but its inner workings were so advanced that even the Zitharans hadn't fully understood it. That's where Jack came in. He picked up a small glowing crystal and held it up to the light. "What's this thing supposed to do again?" "It is a quantum energy stabilizer," Alara said, stepping closer. "It regulates power fluctuations in high-energy systems, essential for the device to function." Jack frowned. "Looks fragile." "It is," she replied, her tone sharp. "Handle it carefully." Jack shot her a grin. "Relax. I've got steady hands." Despite their rocky start, Jack and Alara were beginning to find a rhythm. She brought precision, logic, and deep knowledge of Zitharan science. Jack, on the other hand, brought intuition, creativity, and a willingness to experiment in ways that Alara admitted she found both fascinating and frustrating. As they worked, Jack tried to break the silence. "So, Alara, do you guys ever just relax? For fun?" "Fun," she repeated, tilting her head slightly as if the word was foreign. "We value intellectual pursuits and meditation." "Is that what you mean?" Jack chuckled. "Not exactly. I mean like playing games or just goofing around. Letting loose." Alara looked at him, her luminous eyes narrowing slightly in thought. "Humans seem to place significant importance on leisure. Perhaps that explains your unorthodox approach to work." "Hey, don't knock it till you try it," Jack said, grinning. Alara's lips twitched, almost forming a smile. "Perhaps." Their conversation was interrupted by an alert from the ship's console. Alara moved swiftly to the display, her expression shifting to one of concern. "Something wrong?" Jack asked, standing up. "The Zitharan patrol has detected an anomaly near the void's edge," Alara said, her tone grim. "It could be another expansion, or something worse." Jack grabbed his tools and nodded. "Guess break time's over." As they prepared for the next step, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Something about this mission felt bigger than just the void. For the first time, he wondered if they were walking into a trap. The Zitharan vessel hovered near the edge of the eclipsing void, its sleek, glowing hull standing in stark contrast to the swirling black abyss ahead. Jack Calder stood on the observation deck, staring out at the vast, churning darkness that seemed alive. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, a terrifying void that devoured light, energy, and entire star systems. "I've seen black holes before," Jack muttered, "but this is something else." Alara stood beside him, her luminous eyes fixed on the void. "The eclipsing void is not bound by the laws of nature as we know them," she said. "Its patterns suggest it is artificial, yet its power surpasses anything the ancient races could have imagined." Jack raised an eyebrow. Artificial? You're saying someone built this thing? Alara nodded, her expression grim. Our records indicate it was created as a weapon by an extinct species known as the Carnathians. Their civilization vanished millennia ago, but their legacy remains, a weapon with no off switch, consuming all in its path. Jack let out a low whistle. Great. A super weapon on autopilot. Suddenly, the ship's console beeped, and Alara moved swiftly to investigate. A holographic display lit up, showing a small object drifting near the void's edge. It was metallic and covered in strange markings, pulsating faintly as if it were alive. What is that? Jack asked, stepping closer. A Carnathian artifact. Alara replied, her voice tense. We believe these artifacts were part of the Void's control system. If we can retrieve it, we may uncover vital information about how to stop the Void. Jack nodded. All right, let's grab it. It's not that simple, Alara said. The artifact's proximity to the Void makes it dangerous. Its energy field could destabilize at any moment. Jack smirked. Dangerous is my middle name. Alara gave him a look, half annoyed, half amused. I doubt that. The Zitharan pilot maneuvered the ship carefully, bringing it close to the artifact. Jack suited up in a sleek, Zitharan-designed exosuit, its advanced technology allowing him to withstand a harsh environment outside. As the airlock opened, Jack stepped into the void of space, tethered to the ship by a glowing cable. Be careful, Alara's voice crackled through the comms. If the void's energy field spikes, you must return immediately. Got it, Jack replied, his tone calm despite the stakes. As he approached the artifact, Jack felt a strange vibration through the suit. The artifact seemed to hum, almost as if it were reacting to his presence. He carefully extended a tool to clamp onto it when a sudden surge of energy shot through the void, sending shockwaves rippling through the area. Jack, return now, Alara shouted. Not yet, Jack yelled back, gripping the artifact tightly. With one final pull, he detached it from its position and reeled himself back toward the ship just as another energy surge erupted behind him. Once inside, Jack handed the artifact to Alara, his heart pounding. Well, that was fun. Alara studied the artifact, her expression serious. This may hold the key to understanding the void, but it is only the beginning. Jack sighed, his adrenaline fading. Yeah, I had a feeling this was just the start of something bigger. As the ship pulled away from the void's edge, both of them couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. The Zitharan research vessel drifted in the safety of a distant star system, far from the edge of the eclipsing void. Inside, the tension was palpable. Jack Calder and Alara sat in the ship's lab, studying the Carnathian artifact they had retrieved. It floated midair, its glowing markings shifting and pulsating, as if alive. This thing is a puzzle box, Jack said, squinting at the artifact. But I can tell it's connected to the void's energy patterns. It's like it's transmitting something. Alara nodded, her delicate fingers hovering over the holographic display linked to the artifact. The energy signatures suggest it is part of a network. If we can decode its message, we may find the location of the void's control nexus. Jack leaned back, rubbing his temples. Great. So, crack this thing open, find the nexus, and shut the void down. Easy, right? Before Alara could respond, an alarm blared through the ship. Red lights pulsed, and the pilot's voice came over the intercom. Incoming vessel. It's Zitharan. Identification unknown. Jack frowned. Your people don't seem the type to drop by unannounced. Alara's face tightened, her usual calm replaced by unease. This is not protocol. Stay here. She moved toward the ship's bridge, but Jack wasn't one to sit still. He followed her, his curiosity outweighing caution. When they reached the bridge, the view screen displayed a sleek Zitharan warship approaching at high speed. Identify yourself, Alara demanded over the comms. The response came immediately. A cold, mechanical voice replied, Surrender the artifact. You are interfering with classified operations. Alara's eyes narrowed. Classified by whom? The Council did not authorize this mission. That is irrelevant, the voice replied. You have one chance. Surrender or be destroyed. Jack glanced at Alara. Friends of yours. Rogues, she said quietly, her tone bitter. A faction within our ranks who believe the void can be controlled, used as a weapon. They have infiltrated our government. Let me guess, they're not big on diplomacy. Jack quipped. Alara ignored him, turning to the pilot. Evasive maneuvers. We cannot allow them to take the artifact. The ship jolted as the rogue vessel fired warning shots. Jack grabbed onto a nearby console for balance. You got defenses on this thing. Minimal, Alara admitted. This is a research vessel, not a warship. Jack's mind raced. All right, what about the artifact? Can we use it to our advantage? Alara hesitated, then nodded. It emits a powerful energy signature. If we overload it, it could disrupt their systems, but it's dangerous. Danger's my middle name, remember? Jack grinned, already moving toward the lab. As the rogue vessel closed in, Jack and Alara worked together to overload the artifact. Sparks flew, and the lab filled with a low hum as the device glowed brighter. When the timing was right, they released the artifact's energy in a controlled pulse, sending a shockwave that disabled the rogue ship's systems. We did it, Jack said, panting. Alara exhaled deeply. For now, but this is only the beginning. They will come for us again. Jack nodded grimly. Then we'd better figure out how to stop the void fast. I don't think they'll give us another chance. The Zitharan research vessel glided into orbit around a barren, lifeless moon. Its surface was a dull gray, scarred with craters and jagged rock formations. To Jack Calder, it looked like a dead world with nothing of value. But Alara insisted this place held something crucial, something that could tip the scales in their fight against the eclipsing void. This moon doesn't look like much, Jack said, staring out of the viewport. You sure we're in the right place? Alara stood beside him, her expression calm but determined. Beneath the surface lies a Carnathian vault. Ancient Zitharan records suggest it contains advanced hybrid technology. Technology we can use to counter the void. Jack shrugged, slinging a toolkit over his shoulder. All right, let's dig up some alien treasure. But if we find another artifact that hums ominously, I'm leaving it here. Alara almost smiled. Your humor is persistent. The two descended to the moon's surface in a small shuttle, their boots crunching against the dust as they stepped out. Alara led the way, her glowing scanner pulsing as it searched for hidden structures. After a few tense moments, the device beeped, and a section of the rocky terrain shimmered faintly. This is it, Alara said, her voice steady. She tapped a sequence into the scanner, and the ground beneath them rumbled. Slowly, a massive circular door emerged from the dust, engraved with intricate patterns that glowed faintly as if awakening from a long slumber. Impressive, Jack muttered. Now let's hope it opens. Alara placed her hand on a glowing panel near the door. It scanned her, and with a deep, echoing groan, the vault door began to slide open, revealing a dark tunnel that stretched into the depths of the moon. The pair descended cautiously, their path lit by faint, bluish lights embedded in the walls. The air grew cooler as they went deeper, and Jack felt a shiver run down his spine. Creepy. I'm getting ancient curse vibes. Alara ignored his comment. Her attention focused on the end of the tunnel, where a massive chamber opened up. The room was filled with towering machines, glowing crystals, and strange, spherical drones hovering silently. This is incredible, Alara whispered, her voice filled with awe. It's a Carnathian arsenal, preserved for centuries. Jack's eyes scanned the room. All right, what here can help us stop the void? Alara approached a large console, its symbols flickering to life as she touched it. These systems contain energy disruption technology, far more advanced than anything we've seen. If we can integrate this with the artifact, it may amplify its effect enough to neutralize the void. As they began examining the equipment, Jack noticed movement in the shadows. Alara, I think we got company. From the darkness emerged sleek, humanoid robots, their glowing eyes fixed on the intruders. They raised their arms, energy weapons charging. Security system, Alara exclaimed, her voice tense. Of course there's a security system, Jack muttered, reaching for a tool. Let's hope these guys don't mind us borrowing their tech. As the first robot lunged, Jack and Alara realized their task had just become a battle for survival. The fate of the galaxy rested on whether they could outsmart the ancient defenses and unlock the secrets of the hidden arsenal. The quiet hum of the Zitharan ship was interrupted by the sudden, sharp chime of the communication system. Jack Calder turned from the cockpit, where he had been scanning the star charts, to see Alara standing in the doorway, her face unreadable. "Something's wrong," she said, her voice calm but edged with concern. Jack raised an eyebrow. "What now? More rogue Zitharans trying to blow us up?" Alara's gaze was fixed on the blinking screen before her. "No. Worse." The screen flickered and then showed a live transmission from a Zitharan council representative. The figure was tall and regal, their silver skin glowing in the light. They were the last people Jack had expected to see. The council was supposed to be neutral, impartial, overseeing Zitharan interests across the galaxy. But something about this transmission didn't feel right. "Jack Calder," the council member's voice echoed, "we have been watching your progress with the artifact and the eclipsing void. However, your interference with the rogue faction has forced our hand. You are no longer welcome to continue your mission." Jack's blood ran cold. "Wait a minute. What do you mean? No longer welcome? We're saving the galaxy here." Alara stepped forward, her expression shifting from calm to one of disbelief. "What do you mean, our hand? The council authorized the mission. I don't understand." The council member's face remained stoic. "The artifact has triggered unforeseen consequences. Your attempts to disrupt the void have alerted more dangerous entities. You are now a threat to Zitharan interests. We must take control." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving a thick silence in the air. Jack and Alara exchanged uneasy glances. Alara looked more shocked than Jack had ever seen her. "They're turning on us," she said quietly, as if the words were hard to accept. Jack frowned, trying to piece together what was happening. "This doesn't make any sense. They're supposed to help us, not shut us down. We're trying to stop the void from destroying everything." Alara's voice was tight with frustration. "The void's power is undeniable. Some believe it's better to control it than to destroy it. The rogue faction isn't the only one that thinks this way. There are more factions within the council that feel the same." Jack stood up, anger bubbling up inside him. "So they want to use the void, play God with a super weapon that could wipe out entire systems. We have to stop them. They don't get to choose who lives and who dies." Alara nodded, her eyes cold with determination. "We're out of options now. We have to finish this mission ourselves." Just then, the ship's sensors lit up. Another vessel had arrived, this one larger, menacing. The ship's silhouette was unmistakable. It was a Zitharan warship, and it was closing in fast. "They're not waiting around to see if we'll comply," Jack muttered, rushing to the control panel. "We need to move. Now." Alara moved swiftly, her face set in grim focus. "We can't outrun them. We'll have to fight." Jack cursed under his breath as he ran his fingers over the ship's weapon systems, trying to line up a counterattack. "Fighting's not my strong suit, but I guess we don't have a choice." Alara looked at him, her expression softening just slightly. "Neither of us are warriors, Jack, but we don't have to win this battle. We just need to survive long enough to finish our mission." The Zitharan warship loomed closer, its weapons charging. Jack felt his heart race. This wasn't just a fight for survival anymore. It was a battle for everything they'd worked for. The stakes had grown higher than ever, And now, with the Council and the rogue faction against them, Jack knew there was no going back. "We've come too far to fail now," Jack said, setting his jaw. "Let's finish this." The ship jolted as the first blast from the warship struck. The countdown to their final stand had begun. The Scifi warship loomed on the view screen, its massive guns charging with energy. Jack Calder gripped the ship's controls, his knuckles white. His heart pounded in his chest, but his mind was clear. The rogue Scifi were no longer just a threat to the void. They were a threat to everything they had fought for. Alara stood beside him, her eyes scanning the displays. "We can't outrun them, and we don't have the firepower to face them head-on. But we do have something they don't: creativity." Jack shot her a quick glance. "Are you saying we should build a bomb out of spare parts and duct tape?" Alara's lips twitched. "Something like that. We need to use their own technology against them." Jack nodded. "All right, let's make it happen." The warship's first blast struck their hull with a deep, bone-shaking thud, sending vibrations through the ship. Warning lights flashed red as systems started to fail. The ship's shields flickered, barely holding up under the assault. "We've got a few minutes before they breach the outer hull," Jack said, his voice tight. "I'm rerouting power to the aft shields, but it's not going to last long." Alara didn't waste time. "We need to disable their weapons. If we can't outfight them, we can at least cripple them." Jack grinned. "That's more like it. You think you can hack into their system?" Alara's eyes glowed brighter, focused. "I can, but I'll need direct access to their control network." Jack's mind raced. The communications array. "If I can get close enough, I can use a signal jammer to create a feedback loop in their system. It'll confuse their targeting systems long enough for us to strike." Alara looked at him. "That's risky, but it could work. Just be quick." With no time to lose, Jack hit the thrusters, sending the ship into a sharp turn toward the warship's blind spot. The enemy ship fired again, the blast grazing their shields but not penetrating. Jack gritted his teeth. He knew they couldn't take many more hits. "I'm going in," Jack called out, launching himself from the cockpit and heading toward the airlock. Alara followed quickly, grabbing a toolkit along the way. Outside, the void of space stretched endlessly. Jack's breath fogged up his visor as he floated into the cold darkness, his tether to the ship keeping him safe. The Scifi warship's giant shape hung in front of him like an ancient beast, its energy cannons glowing. "Jack, stay focused." Alara's voice came through the comm. "Remember, the feedback loop only works if you can reach the comm array without getting caught." Jack's pulse quickened. Understood. The exterior of the enemy warship was smooth, with only a few protrusions to latch onto. Jack carefully made his way to the communications array, which was located near the aft of the ship. His heart raced as he approached the array's power conduits. One wrong move, and the feedback loop wouldn't work. He pulled out the signal jammer, attaching it to the array and activating it. His suit's display showed the pulse going out, slowly spreading through the warship's systems. Come on," Jack muttered under his breath, watching the array's systems flicker and glitch. Then, it happened. The warship's targeting system went offline, the enemy fire halting as they lost connection to their weapons. "Yes," Jack exclaimed, exhaling in relief. The Scifi warship was now vulnerable. Alara's voice crackled through his comms. "Jack, get back. We need to finish this." With the enemy's weapons disabled, Jack quickly made his way back to their ship. He boarded just in time to see Alara powering up their remaining weapon systems. She looked at him, a fierce determination in her eyes. "We can't afford to waste this chance," she said, firing their last missiles at the vulnerable warship. The missiles hit their mark, exploding on impact. The warship shook violently, its systems failing as the damage mounted. The rogue faction's ship was no longer a threat. Jack collapsed into the pilot's seat, adrenaline flooding his system. "We did it. For now." Alara nodded, her face still stern. "This battle is won, but the war is far from over. There are others out there who will stop at nothing to control the void. Jack looked at her, his eyes resolute. Then we'll be ready. They had won a major victory, but the war against the rogue Zitherans and the growing power of the void was far from over. Their fight was just beginning. The Zitharan warship's explosion still echoed in Jack's ears as he piloted their research vessel through the calm of space. The battle had been won, but there was no time to rest. He and Elara had just narrowly escaped disaster, and they both knew their work wasn't finished. The rogue Zitherans were still out there, and the eclipsing void was still growing, threatening to consume everything in its path. Jack leaned back in the pilot's seat, exhausted but focused. I have to admit, that was the most intense thing I've ever done. Elara stood beside him, her glowing eyes scanning the distant stars. We've made a dent, Jack, but this is only a small victory in a much larger war. Jack sighed. I know, but we've got the technology now. The Carnathian arsenal, the artifact. It's a start. Start, Elara repeated. This is more than a start. The arsenal's tech is unlike anything we've ever seen. With it, we can build the weapon to destroy the void. But we need time, resources, and allies. Jack ran a hand through his hair. Time. Something we don't have much of. Elara looked at him. We will make the time. We've faced worse odds before. Jack gave a small smile. I'm starting to think you might be right. The ship's communication system beeped, breaking the tension. Jack glanced at the screen. A message had come through, a signal from an unknown source. Looks like we've got company, he muttered. Elara stepped forward, her fingers hovering over the console as she read the incoming message. Her face softened in surprise. It's from the Zitharan Council. Jack raised an eyebrow. The same council that tried to shut us down. Yes, Elara said quietly. But this message, it's different. She activated the message, and the face of a familiar Zitharan council member appeared on the screen. This time, there was no coldness in their expression, no threat in their voice. Instead, there was a sense of respect, and perhaps even a hint of apology. Jack called her Elara. The council member said, We have watched your efforts closely. While we still disagree on the use of the eclipsing void, your actions have shown us that you are not just fighting for power. You are fighting for survival. And for that, we are willing to offer our full support. Jack exchanged a look with Elara. He could hardly believe it. What do you mean, full support? Jack asked. After everything that's happened, we have seen the consequences of your fight. The void cannot be controlled. It must be destroyed. We have resources, knowledge, and allies across the galaxy. If you are willing to work with us, we will provide you with everything you need to end this crisis once and for all. Elara's eyes widened with realization. This is the opportunity we need. Jack exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of what this meant. You're saying the Zitharan Council is ready to help us stop the void? Yes, the council member said. Together, we can end the threat and build a new future. Jack smiled, a sense of hope rising in his chest. This was what they had been fighting for. Not just survival, but a chance for a new beginning. It wasn't going to be easy, and the war was far from over. But for the first time, Jack felt like they had a real chance to win. We accept your help, Jack said, his voice steady with determination. Elara nodded. Together, we can bring an end to the void and a new era of cooperation. As the message ended, Jack leaned back in his chair, looking out at the stars. The road ahead would be difficult, but they were no longer alone. They had allies. They had the technology. And most importantly, they had the will to fight for a future beyond the void. We're just getting started, Jack said, a smile tugging at his lips. And with that, the ship set course for a new chapter in their journey. A journey where humanity and the Zitharans would stand united, facing the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known.